As I hope members will appreciate, the existing framework and guidelines for theft robustly set out the crucial factors courts should consider in determining the seriousness of each and every theft offence, including those involving theft of tools from tradesmen and high-value farming equipment. Yeah.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. Just in terms of the premise of the point being made by the government, which is effectively that there is sufficient legislation already in place to combat these crimes. Responding to an FIOI request I submitted to the Met Police, that showed that 9 in 10 tool thefts in London went unsolved in the last 5 years. I think I would make the point that the existing legislation under which that failure has been allowed to continue would suggest that actually it is not sufficient currently. And I think I would push the point and support the amendments, the new clauses submitted, that actually something does need to change to stop these incredibly damaging crimes that are affecting not just the livelihoods but the mental health of our incredibly valuable and absolutely essential tradespeople and their families.
I welcome the comment from the Liberal Democrat spokesperson, and look, I want to recognise, and this government wants to recognise that theft is a crime and it affects, victims are immensely impacted by this. He knows personally, we've already heard his own circumstances earlier today. But I would also add that what has happened is, I would also like to add that the legislation is adequate in this place, as I've already said. We have robust legislation to tackle it. What has been apparent over the last 14 years is a decimation of our public services, including our policing, which has meant that police haven't had the resources that they have needed to go after these crimes effectively. I'm glad to say that this government is changing that in terms of recruiting more police officers, funding more police officers, including the Met Police, to ensure that we have the police to go after these crimes. Yeah.
On that point,
happy to give way.
I think you set me up quite nicely. I think I'll come back to it later. But the Met Police are going to be reducing their staffing and their officers, PCSOs, by 1,700 next year. So I think, again, if the case the government is attempting to present is that the legislation is sufficient at present and that they're providing more officers and resources to police forces to combat the increase, and whosever fault it was, and we all make points about what the cause was and the cuts and when they started and what the conditions were prior, but if Met Police is suffering 1,700 fewer officers next year due to the funding situation, and the legislation is currently letting down tradespeople today, again, I would gently push back that A, the legislation will be the resources sufficient to solve the issue that we are presenting and all generally agreeing on existing today. Thank you, and apologies for the confusion. I do rise to support new clause 13, but also Conservative clauses 27, 96, 98. We did have a long discussion on it previously, but again, I think it is worth repeating as often as possible that tool theft is an utterly devastating crime that cost tradespeople more than £94 million last year. Research from the NFU Mutual showed that 1 in 3 tradespeople now live in constant fear of violent thieves. Some have been attacked with crowbars and other weapons just for trying to protect their tools from being ripped right out of their vans. As I heard from campaigners in February at the rally in Parliament Square organised by Trades United, the discussions about tradespeople not letting their vehicles out of their sight, the discussions and the descriptions of their vans being, the roofs being cut off so that thieves could access and steal their tools. It was heartbreaking, and again we hear the impact on those tradespeople and their families, and the suicides and the mental health problems that result from that. So again, I think despite the back and forth, I really do think that we need to make absolutely clear that this needs to be addressed, and the powers given to the police and the courts to treat these people with the seriousness it deserves. The problem of tool theft is absolutely more than just theft. It's an assault on their hard-earned work and livelihoods. It's time to acknowledge that this danger is more than a standard assault or theft, because it comes to their entire livelihoods and lifestyles.